Hey, Nathan, what would you say is the least and most satisfying cars to own?
Actually, I have one that covers both.
What's that?
The Hummer. EV. I said it again for those of you haters out there who can't stand the fact that I'm displeased with it. Because it's awesome and it's not so awesome at the same time.
So today, me and you are going to be talking about a survey that Consumer Reports did of all of their members. And basically they asked them what are their most and least satisfying cars to own. In other words, would you buy them again?
That is correct. And this is based on a percentage on how many would actually buy them again, or in many cases wouldn't buy them again. And we will get to those who are displeased with their cars near the end of the broadcast. But at the very beginning, I wanted to point out something. Roman, we just recently had a Super Bowl. For those of you who won or lost, I am sorry and or happy for you. I don't care about either because I'm a Steelers fan and I'm displeased anyway. But something happened recently, and some of you guys pointed it out with some emails recently, as of this morning. The Super Bowl commercials this year for cars, kind of weak sauce.
Yeah, I got to say, the only good one for me was the premature electrification.
That was pretty funny.
That was funny, but it was also a little disappointing because they unveiled the Ram EV, right? And it looked like nothing like the concept truck.
It looked like basically a regular Ram truck with a new front end.
Yeah, like they took the way that the Ford Lightning, went electric. They did the same thing with the Ram. It was a head scratcher. I'll give you that, Nathan. And then there was a Will Ferrell one.
That's kind of funny.
That was kind of funny, with the zombies. That was okay. Yeah.
But I mean, there's the other ones that were out there. None of them really did it for me. My wife liked the Binky Dad. That's the one with the Kia. I think it was the where the little kid wants the little mouth sucker thing.
None of them were as memorable as the one with the little kid Darth Vader and the Volkswagen.
That was one of the best ones.
That was
so good. Yeah. It was funny and cute at the same time. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. I'm curious to you, if you guys feel the same way, that it's kind of a letdown this year.
I think they were all kind of a letdown. There was nothing. I was trying to think back, and I actually, what I usually do, and I'm sure a lot of people do, is during the commercials, and I think this is probably driving what makes phones so popular. Go to your phone and start playing on it, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I actually on purpose watched the commercials hoping to be like, wow, but there was nothing.
Some movie previews are kind of cool, but
that's
not car stuff though. So
the Batman thing did you see the Batman?
Yeah,
that looked good.
That freaked my son out. He was just like, wait, who's that? I said, that's Michael Keaton. What? Who? And it was great. It was good. But that's not a car. Well, technically, I guess you could say the Batmobile was kind of cool. All right. Anyway, I wanted to throw that out there to you guys before we got started on this list. Now, once again, this comes directly from Consumer Reports, and they have a top 10 and a top 11, believe it or not, in the least and most satisfying cars. So we're going to cover that.
Let's go at it. Let's start with
the most satisfying?
Yeah, let's start with number. So we'll start with the least most satisfying, and then we'll work our way up to the most satisfying. Yeah. All right. What's number 11?
So number 11, and it's tied for number 10, is the Dodge Challenger with 86% of the owners said they would buy it again.
And what's it tied with? Might as well get them both in
the
there.
Mazda MX-5 Miata.
Yeah, obviously one iconic car and one muscle car, right? Muscle car-ish. And they both have one thing in common. You know what that is, Nathan?
They both have manual options.
They're both affordable.
Oh, okay.
In their base trims. Obviously, the Hellcat isn't affordable, but they're both affordable. And there's something very special about an affordable car that is also fun to drive and thus satisfying. And there aren't a lot of those.
No, and to be honest, even the Challenger with the V6, even though you really want that sound, it still moves nice. It's actually a pretty fun car to drive, but I really do like that Miata Challenger mix because it shows that front engine, rear drive, proper cars are still popular, and there's other ones on this list, by the way.
I think the one common theme here is all these cars are interesting in some way or another, right? They're just not, there's some cars, especially in mid-sized crossovers, where if you put them next to each other, you'd have a hard time telling them apart.
Oh, yeah, especially the silhouettes.
Yeah, and powertrain, same thing.
Yep.
All-wheel drive systems. It's all kind of just bland toaster.
Well, wait till we get to the least satisfying. You'll see what we mean with that, because an awful lot of them are crossovers. Now, number 9 on our list, and this is an interesting one because It's not that old, so it's only been around for a couple of years, but it's the Toyota RAV4
Hold on. So the first part of that, boring, but now it gets interesting when you say the second part.
Yes, okay, I got you. So the Toyota RAV4 Prime.
Yep.
Okay, at 87%, it is number 9 on our list, and the Prime, well, it does something special, and that is horsepower.
And it goes on electricity for like
Yeah.
40 or 50 miles, right?
Yay.
So I just did a video. I was just at the auto show, right?
Uh-huh.
The Chicago Auto Show, and I just did a video with the Wrangler 4xe where I contended. And somebody, by the way, somebody put a lot of mean-spirited comments. They said, "What an unprofessional review, Roman." And the reason it was not a lot of let's call it production value in that review is I just done like 15 videos with Andre at the show.
Yeah.
And I did this as kind of the last of 15 before I went and actually ate at Portillo's with my friend Steve. So I just spent me and Andre both, I just spent 2 days working nonstop, cranking out video after video.
And it's a huge show physically.
Yeah. I think first day I walked 25,000 steps.
Jeez.
Yeah, something like that. So, I was not exactly at the top of my battery. I was at the bottom of it. So, I did the best I could. But the contention there was, and I think we should talk about this, that plug-in hybrids are really where most people are at right now. They're quite, I mean, obviously early adopters are, buying Teslas and Hummer EVs. But I think most people like that kind of plug-in hybrid. And the question, of course, that it brings up, and the question asked in the video, is it the best of both worlds or is it the worst of both worlds? And what I mean by that, Nathan, is you got a car with two powertrains, right?
Yep.
So you got a motor and you got an internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
So you can drive it without ever having to plug it in, or you can plug it in and never actually potentially ever have to turn on the internal combustion engine. But the downside of that is you've got a lot of complexity. So the Prime and the Wrangler,
4xe.
have both an electric motor and an internal combustion engine, and that's a lot of weight, which is
Yes.
bad for fuel economy, and it's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. So is it best of both worlds or worst of both worlds?
And that's,
Or both.
And time will tell with Jeep because we're still kind of in the new phase. You know what I mean? It's only been a couple of years that Jeep's been doing
Yeah.
this. If you look at the long-term benefits of plug-in hybrids and what they've managed to do with Toyota, with Volvo, with Jeep, they've managed to show that you can get, if you drive it correctly, an electric vehicle all the time for in-town driving. And then if you need to go cross-country, you don't have to worry about a thing. You just drive cross-country like a regular car. Those are the benefits. The negative part is, people don't think about this either, all that extra weight from the battery and the fact that you have basically two powertrains, well, that's not great for tires. Tire wear can be premature. Also, your performance changes significantly because you're suddenly a lot heavier, and so it won't handle the same way. We've taken the Jeep Wrangler 4xe off-road several times, and it's quite good off-road. However, its regular V6 counterpart is a lot happier bouncing up and over rocks because it's a lot lighter. So weight does matter. I know I shouldn't be talking, but
Both of us.
I know. But the point is that I get what you're coming from, but the technology's been out now for years, and they've really refined it to the point to where when you drive some of these vehicles, the real benefit, sometimes you forget about the fact it's a plug-in, which I was kind of grunting about earlier, and it just has extra power. That Jeep has tons. The only thing more powerful amongst all the Wranglers is the 392.
Well, I think if you're a consumer, it's the best of both worlds because you don't ever have to plug it in. You don't ever have to, if you don't want to, or you can plug it in and never have to go to the gas station. You choose.
Well, within reason.
Right,
Yeah.
within reason. So two things about the Wrangler. How much do you think it cost? I had
$52,000.
I'll give you a hint. It had that one-touch sky roof, which is a $4,500 option.
Oh man, so
It was a
60,000,
Rubicon.
63,000.
69. Yeah, 70 basically, 70,000. And
But you don't have to pay that much to get the 4xe.
we lost our video.
Hold on, you just because this thing just you got to get.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
It's back.
Oh, it's back. Okay. So I was saying, that's a lot of money, dude. And the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing with that RAV4 Prime, which, by the way, 87% of buyers would say they would buy again. Also unobtainium, also over sticker, and also very expensive.
Yes. However, at least with the Jeep, I know for a fact that they have a somewhat entry-level version of it that's in the low 50s, high 40s, I believe. And that is the one that doesn't have the cool top or any of that other stuff. And that recently came out. We actually did a story. I think it's on TFL Off-Road. But the point here is that, bottom line, plug-in hybrids, I think, have come along far enough to where they're more of a benefit, I think, in general, across the board. And me personally, I would rather have one of those than an electric vehicle, and I own an electric car. And it's great, but I am completely screwed if I want to go anything further than 100 miles, or in this case,
So
even.
Tommy's doing a series of videos over at TFL EV, and you can see that at alltfl.com, where he's taking our new long-term Bolt,
Yeah.
and he's trying to live with it as if he didn't have a home plug. So the first video he did was he only tried to charge it up. I shouldn't say home plug, a home level 2 station, which we have, but he's not using it. So the first one,
in 120.
yeah, he just did 120, and it didn't go all that well. And the second one that we haven't published yet, that he just finished this week, and these are like vlog-like videos where he's actually showing you how he's using it. He's got a girlfriend. He's driving up to Fort Collins. So there's a lot of driving involved. In this one, he's only using public charging, and that's turned out to be even harder.
Yes.
Even harder. I'll give you an example. So he was over at the mall, which has an EA station with 4 chargers, and then downstairs in the garage there are 2 plug-in. What is it called? Plug-in charge. Plug-in.
Plug share.
Plug share is not the app that shows you where. That's the app that shows you. It's not plug share. Anyway, they're not Electrify America. They're the other one. So plug share is the app that shows you where
The other plugs are, okay.
Yeah, anyway, both of those were down, and then he went upstairs, and there were 4 EAs. 3 of them were occupied, and 1 was down. And the 3 that were occupied, there was nobody there, and they were all charging over 90%. People had just plugged them in and walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where that RAV4 Prime could come in really handy.
Exactly.
Because you could just go to the gas station and say, if you guys are, unfamiliar with the etiquette and you just let your thing, charge above 90% and walk away from it, then I'm going to go and get some good old dino juice. Actually,
Exactly.
Sinclair.
Yes,
Dino juice,
there
yeah.
you go. This happened to you at the airport. This
Yeah.
happened to me several times coming back solo from Florida to California driving the Ioniq 5. And the etiquette, this is a whole different thing. We should actually do a podcast,
We should do a whole podcast.
just on etiquette. And we all know the infrastructure just isn't there yet. Hopefully it will get there eventually, but it's not there yet. Let's move to number 8, though. What do you say?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, it's the Kia Telluride, which has 87% of its owners would say that they would buy it again.
So both the Telluride and the Palisade, it's twin, right? It's Hyundai Twin got redone, facelifted. Now, for me, the Telluride used to be the prettier of the 2, but now I've been reading the comments and people think it's the Palisade got better looking.
Really? I still like
You
the
like the new
Telluride,
one?
but I
Yeah.
like the first-gen Telluride way more. I think it's really cool.
I do too, because they, every time they go to the new gen, they kind of make it like smoother, more
Softer.
modern. But I like the old
Yeah.
squared.
It had a
up.
little bit more
Yeah.
of a macho feel to it. And,
Agreed.
But the new Telluride, there's a little bit more of an off-roady version of it now, and it's really just tires and wheels and a little bit of suspension. But it's a great vehicle, and both Kia and Hyundai cannot build enough of them, especially Kia. This is one of the not only the best-selling vehicle that they have, but it's one of the best-selling vehicles in its class. The Telluride is huge, and during the pandemic, when things were really bad with pricing, this was one of the ones that we saw between 50 and 80% price hikes often. And those dealerships are unconscionable. I hope you remember who did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a sweet spot in terms of crossovers, right? You've got 3 rows, and you've got the interior that looks like it's just out of a BMW
quite
X7.
nice.
You know what I mean? And the only thing that lets it down just a little bit in my mind is that V6. It's a little underwhelming.
I would agree.
But otherwise, it needs like a hybrid option at least. So I'm surprised that in the facelift they didn't do that.
Well, we're going to be seeing it a lot more because other products that both companies build, Hyundai, Kia, do have plug-in hybrid versions. So I have a feeling that will trickle down to these vehicles, especially because they want to keep their CAFE numbers low. But we'll find out in the near future. The Telluride altogether is an interesting vehicle. Interesting also is that Kia is on the opposite list that we're going to hit in a few momentitos.
Interesting, yeah. All right, keep going.
The next one, number 7 on our list, it's the twins. It's the Toyota 86 and Subaru BRZ at 88%.
Yeah, once again, a lot of character in both those cars. We, of course, have not driven the BRZ, but they're twins because,
Yeah, Yeah, we don't mention the Subaru by name. No, just kidding. But there's an important point here, though, that is that we have driven the 86, which recently has been significantly updated.
Yeah, I was going to say, so me and Tommy went on the launch of the GR Corolla, and they gave us the new 86 to drive on the street, which was really cool. And it's got this amazing feature where I fit in it, Nathan. Actually, unlike the Supra, I actually fit.
Isn't that strange, though? I mean, they're completely different vehicles, but the way they built it, I fit comfortably as well. It's actually, for a small rear drive little coupe, quite comfortable, at least up front. There are back seats, but I don't recommend them.
And, now they fixed the torque issue, right? When I say torque issue, it was a little underwhelmingly untorquey. We always said it needed a turbo or supercharger, but now, even though it's still naturally aspirated, those horses come up pretty quick, and it's a fun car to drive. I could see myself happily owning that thing and using it as a daily driver.
Yeah, it's quite good, and I really do like the interior upgrades and whatnot. I mean, it's a nicer interior now, and I just wish the color palette on both sides was a little bit more extensive, because if you think about it, that's a car that really appeals to the youth or youthful thinking people, and I wish they had just tons of weird colors that would be available. That's just me, though. Let's move on to the next one. And
our first electric car.
This is the first electric car in this, and not a whole lot of electric cars altogether. This one is the Polestar 2 with 88%, and there's going to be a lot of 88% vehicles. In fact, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are all at 88% on this list.
Yeah, the only time we ever drove it is they had they haven't, for some reason. By the way, I'm really a little salty about Ineos Grenadier.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Really, I'm kind of salty about it.
Okay, time out for the rant. So, how much time is on our timer? Because it might be perfect time to
do a little Roman rant.
Yeah,
not yet.
Perfect.
But this isn't the rant. This is just. So I was at the Chicago Auto Show, right?
Yeah.
And we've got a very popular off-road channel.
Yes, we do, and a really popular truck channel too.
Dare I say it? One of the most popular.
Indeed.
On YouTube. In fact, about 30 million people either watch a TFL review, listen to the podcast, watch it on TikTok, watch a short, read, your fine writing on the website.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of people, and yet they did a program in Scotland where they invited other world media, including American media, and I'm not going to name names, doesn't really matter, but one of those people who was invited, a freelancer, came to me and asked me if we wanted to publish the story. And I'm like, if I'm the PR guy, don't you think you'd want to invite the bigger publication that actually has the outlet versus a freelancer who's trying to sell it to the bigger publication? I'm not a PR person, but that would be kind of my...
Well, the strange part is, and this is why I threw a fit, and Roman and I see eye to eye with this type of stuff from time to time because we work really hard. We've been doing this for over a dozen years, and we both have experience.
Yeah. I feel like we've earned our pay grade.
The audience deserves to see what we can provide
Yes.
through these automakers. And with Ineos, we actually had Tommy go over to a static display. He was all over it. It was a popular video.
Like 500,000 views or something.
Yeah, it did really well.
And yet, when the time comes to drive it, they invite freelancers who then try to sell the story to TFL.
Yeah,
go
and
figure.
see, that's the part that really gets us.
It's kind of like...
We know that there's events that happen all over the world that we can't make it to for whatever reason. But in this particular case, having that type of thing happen and actually having people who are, how do I put it, ill-equipped mentally to approach us and simply say something to the effect...
that means, but it sounds insulting.
Okay, that sounded insulting? Sorry. No, I'm a little ticked about it, only because of that. If you don't want to invite us, fine. But if somebody else goes, especially some of these people who really shouldn't be there.
Some of them
should
or shouldn't.
Come on, some of them really
The fact
shouldn't.
is you're paying, obviously, to get publicity or to get a review, but then if they don't have an outlet or they have to come to us to have an outlet, why not just invite the outlet?
After the fact.
Just invite the outlet.
Now we have friends that go out and tell us in advance, hey, I'm going to this thing. I want to give you the story. We've had Alex do that and some of you. And we're like, yeah, okay, absolutely. But we're a video outlet, and so we work with video, meaning us.
So I think I'm going to write a salty letter to the PR people and say, hey guys, you're kind of dissing our audience.
Yeah,
and you're making
I
me
agree.
and Nathan a little.
You made Nathan sad.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, just throw it at me. Put me under the bus.
So before we keep going, just to take a little bit of a break here.
Okay.
For a word from the people who pay for this podcast. All right. So Polestar. What was next? What's number 5?
Number 5 is the Hyundai Ioniq 5 at 88%. And this is a vehicle we have a lot of
Oh, yeah,
experience
we
with. Not only that, but somebody, a
You
friend of
lived in it
ours.
for 46 hours.
Well, not only that, but if you think about the amount of miles we put on it, because we did drive it from Colorado to California via Las Vegas, and then from California all the way over to Florida, and then from Florida all the way back to Southern California. So in many ways, we have the most experience in this vehicle for an outlet, in terms of mileage alone, and also the fact that everybody at TFL pretty much has driven it as well. And I got to tell you, what a hell of a car!
Yeah,
It's a hell of a good car.
If you guys are thinking about, getting a crossover and you're looking at Tesla Model Y, go look at this because this raises the bar. Because, for instance, Tesla Model Y, while it does have a much better national infrastructure with the superchargers, it does not have vehicle to load. So you cannot plug your Tesla Model Y into your, I don't know, pick a refrigerator of your choice when the power goes out.
This vehicle, aside from the fact that it's more utilitarian than most other vehicles in the class, it's really not a crossover. It's more of a large wagon, and the shape is kind of unusual. I dig the way it looks, but also it's a proper hatchback. It has gobs of space. It drives fantastic. There are a couple little things here and there that I don't love about it. It doesn't have a rear windshield wiper, which pisses me off.
Yeah, and the range, well, once again, it's like 250.
It's pretty good range.
I know, but when it gets cold, I feel like if it was a real 250, then it'd be enough. So for me, it has to be like 300 that then comes down to like in the winter or.
Well, and bear in mind, this is the all-wheel drive model, so that's
Yeah.
why that 250-ish, And
I can't wait to drive the Ioniq 6.
Yeah, which is its brother, but because it's a much more slippery design, and a little bit more modern, so they've been able to refine some of the electronics.
It should have that higher.
It does have a much higher
yeah,
range. It's
yeah.
well over 300 miles. So anyway, really, really good car. I would own one. I would own the Ioniq 5 in a heartbeat. I really liked it. Very good all-wheel drive
So
system.
number 4 is kind of unobtainium right now.
Number 4 is strange because it's the only technically a truck on this list, and that is the Ford Maverick Hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get the 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive one.
Yeah,
but the
drive.
hybrid is the 2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Which gets phenomenal fuel economy, but they're not building it as far as I can tell.
Oh, well,
they are filling
they're
it.
filling orders.
Yeah.
And they've stopped orders for this year, I believe.
Once again, look, another one, one of the cheapest trucks you can buy in America, if not
Yeah.
the cheapest truck.
Yeah, around $22,000 for the base model, which will give you the hybrid standard. By the way, 88% of the owners would buy it again. So that's a really good start for what is a brand new vehicle in this segment, and what is the return to small truck segment.
But there is one Achilles heel, and I think we're both on the same page. It does have a harsh ride, the 4-wheel drive one especially.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the way
ride. Yeah,
yeah. But around town, it feels more like a crossover. It's easy to drive, easy to park. I would say pretty easy to live with. I almost bought one. I would say that I was on the fence for a little while. Then I drove the Hyundai Santa Cruz, and I much preferred the ride and the feel of the Santa Cruz. But in terms of the way the Ford Maverick is built, and more importantly, how they did it and presented it to the public, you guys are all aware of it now. Ford is selling. They can't sell enough. That's simply how it's put.
I think the way I put it is, a compact truck with a heavy duty ride.
Yeah, kind of. It's
everything else on it is incredible. I mean, the room is almost mid-sized truck.
Yeah.
The color combinations are cool. The materials are a little cost-cutty, but nothing.
It's not too bad.
For $25,000.
I'm not a fan of the screen. Not so much the size of the screen;
Yeah,
it's
the
the
screen.
position of the screen.
It's
I don't
awkward,
like.
yeah.
It
It
is
like
awkward.
tilts away from the driver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like rotary dials for gear selection, especially if you're doing like a 3-point turn.
Mm.
But these are little issues. All in all, it's I think a fine product, a really good first car. If you like your first new car, truck, pickup. Yeah,
pickup.
crossover pickup. I know, but no matter what, we're going to get yelled at, no matter what we call it. So, but it is a solid
So
vehicle.
we seem to have delved into truck territory because number 2 at 88% would buy it is also a truck. What is it?
And that is the Rivian R1T at 88%.
You know what's amazing about that truck? How much they got right on their first attempt. If
you think about
it's
how,
astounding.
Yeah, it is. It feels like it's been built for a few years. You know what I mean? Everything feels like it's buttoned down. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of an Apple product. Now, I'm not trying to say that Apple's better than anybody else, but one thing that Apple managed to do, even in the earlier days when they started coming
good
out with their
analogy.
iPhones,
Yeah.
is that they managed to make them sexy and simple and kind of modern and high tech. And I feel like the Rivian is sort of the same type of idea. If Apple were to have built a pickup truck, an electric one, this would be the one. And we've driven a couple. I've driven one, and I love the way it drives. I would definitely consider something like this if I was looking for an electric vehicle. It tows like a horse, but just doesn't not very far.
So I was watching the ratings for our podcast, and we're actually doing pretty well in Europe, especially in Britain. And I feel like all you Brits are like, hey, that's one of those vehicles that is unobtainium for us. And before you go there, I agree, but I could name probably 3 vehicles off the top of my head that I would love to drive that we never get. Suzuki Jimny.
Yes, I would love to get one of those.
Any MG.
Yes, any of the MGs. Well, they're Chinese built now, which is interesting. I'm curious to how they drive.
Any MG I would love to try.
Yeah.
What else?
Morris Minor. What the heck? Come on.
An Evora. I think we get that, but I don't think it's out here yet. I think the Brits got it before us.
Kuga. The Ford Kuga. Well, I mean, back when they built the Ford Ka.
The Fiesta, well, they're doing away with the Fiesta,
Yeah, I know.
but they still have it. For the longest time, the Type R Honda. I mean, you just have a lot more cars. So leave us a few that you don't get that we do.
Well, I have a feeling that Rivian, if they can really get their feet down on solid ground, will eventually go over the pond.
It's actually, this is something that people don't talk about. It's absolutely true, though. So, like, let's say there's that 25-year rule, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where it takes 25 years before we can buy a car that's in Europe and legally imported.
Well, in importing it, based on the. Yeah.
Apparently, Kyle does not seem to know about that rule because he bought a Twizy that's completely legal, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be crushed, but it's also assaulting me because I believe in following the law and not skirting the law.
Yeah.
But anyway, the problem with electric vehicles is that Europe uses a different standard. They use CCS2.
Yes, they do.
So if you bring in a European, let's say, electric car and bring it over here, you couldn't charge it. Because I remember once upon a time I was talking to Porsche and I said, hey, I'd love to be able to buy a Porsche Taycan European delivery and then have a trip to America. And they said, oh, no, you can't because we use CCS2 and you use CCS1 and the two do not work together and they're not compatible. So all these cars now that we're getting, like you could take a Rivian and take it to the UK, but you couldn't charge it.
I wonder if there's some sort of adapter or something like that would make it work.
I'm sure there is, but do people even, I mean, you could build one, but do people actually, there's no business case for it.
I don't know. Maybe there is.
My suggestion to Porsche, which they did not take seriously, was Porsche, you can on the Taycan you can have 2 charging ports, right? If you want, you can have one on one side and one on the other side.
Which I like, yeah.
I said put the European one on one side
and the American one on the other. Actually, that's a pretty funny idea.
Oh! Hey, I had a great idea.
Okay.
This isn't my idea. This is Jared from CarBuzz. So it's half of my idea and half of his idea.
Okay.
All right. So I was, and I want to get your take on this. All right. And I think you'll like this.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So you know that all cars now, or a lot of them are going to subscription model, right? Where they're charging.
Which I hate.
Right.
Yes.
But I have a way that you would love it and you would pay for it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I was in the new Mustang Dark Horse.
Yes.
And I was playing with the gauges, and you can actually pick a Fox body gauge.
Huh.
Right? So you could pick the gauge set from the Fox body era Mustang.
And it'll go up on your screen.
Yeah. How about if, like, Ford or GM or Porsche, whoever, actually upsold you on a digital package of retro gauge sets for your new car? So you could have, like, a gauge set out of, I don't know, pick, your favorite Carrera from 1970 in the gauge set of your new 911, or same thing with the Corvette, because they're all going digital. Would you pay money for that? I would.
I mean, I would pay money up front for it, but I wouldn't want to pay monthly for it.
No, you could use it, and then if you get sick of it, you could get rid of it. You go back to the standard one.
Okay.
Yeah,
so in other words, maybe your displays could be like that, and maybe there's other things. Absolutely, I could see.
Cool?
That's not a terrible idea, and that's one of those that
it's like a video game upsell.
Exactly. Okay. I think it's a decent idea, and I rarely like your ideas, so it's a decent one.
I think that's a free one for all of you automakers who want to charge people for heated seats, but knowing that us buyers hate that.
Yeah.
Tell us something we want to pay for.
Yeah, add a little bit of extra cachet to the deal. Having a unique display would be pretty cool.
Yeah, not something we got for free before, or with the purchase of the car, but something that's a value add versus a kind of a wash.
All right, let's move on because we still haven't gotten to the ones that I know you guys are waiting for. Well, we got two more to finish up the ones that people really would buy
And they're two
again.
sports cars.
Big surprise here. Number 2, Porsche 911 at 90%. That's
Wow.
90% of the owners would buy another 911. And you know what? I am not surprised.
Yeah, sure. I
Not
mean,
a surprise at all.
well, first of all, that's a car that, of course, is iconic and expensive and not your main driver.
Remarkably well put together too.
And
It is one of the best put together cars ever. I mean, it goes, and the thing is that it covers everything from mid-level sports cars over here in the States to super high exotic cars in terms of its build quality and capability. Remarkable car.
And the number one, of course, is
The Chevy Corvette.
same recipe, cheaper price.
94% of the owners said they would buy another one. Another one I'm not surprised with. I actually thought it might be flipped, and I thought that the Porsche owners would outdo the Chevrolet owners, but the Corvette, guys, it's on fire. And Roman recently got a chance to have a look-see at the all-wheel drive Corvette.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was having this conversation with Moto Man, and he said that most of the automotive press, the in crowd thinks that it's not cool. It's a GT version because it's not rear-wheel drive and supercharged, the same extent that the Z06 is. And I was like, dude, I think that's cool to have a Vet that you could drive year-round or sneak in and out of your house late at night when you can just go on electricity. I thought that was way cool, but most of them are like purist. Oh no, we got to have rear-wheel drive to go on a track. You don't want all-wheel drive, which is what Audi's been suffering for the last 20 years.
Yeah, supercharged? I don't know if they were. No, it doesn't matter.
Isn't the Z06 supercharged?
I don't think so. I think it's a natural aspirated.
No, it's supercharged, dude.
Okay.
The Z06 is supercharged.
I don't think so.
100%.
Well, anyway, write your comments below.
110%.
Okay.
Want me to look it up?
Yep. While you're looking it up, let's start talking about what's going to be coming next, and that is the least satisfying. And keep in mind that there's a huge gap. So we're talking about 50%, 30%, all that other stuff. So there's all those cars in between that maybe you and I own. I'm actually pretty sure that you and I do own some of these cars, folks.
Oh, you're right. Naturally aspirated Fury. I was wrong.
Oh, I love hearing that. You get to buy
Yeah.
me lunch. Yay.
How did it get in my head that it was supercharged?
Probably because there have been other versions of that powertrain
That were
have been
supercharged?
Yep.
I'm wrong. You're right.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Hey, before we move on, can I do my rant now?
Yeah. Oh, sure. New rant.
This is the rant that I meant to do, not the one that came up.
Okay.
This is a real one. I think you'll appreciate this one. So you wash a lot of cars, right?
Wash?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I bet you just washed the truck today.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, because before we film something, we have to go wash it, so we spend a lot of time washing.
Especially
things.
if Tommy's been near it.
Yeah. So yesterday,
bugging.
we had that old 911, and I'm having the upholstery redone, so I wanted to clean it because I took it through the mud at the ranch, and so I went to the wash, and it was a beautiful day, so it was very busy, right?
Yeah.
And I think there were, for some reason, there were 6 stalls. One had like a colon, so it didn't work, and one had a thing that said too many stalls in use. So there were only 4 that were, and then you play that game like when you go to the bank to see, who do you think is going to take the least amount of time.
Yep.
So I had 2 cars that just pulled in, so they were like, forget that. But there were 2 other vehicles that I could choose from. All right, so one of them was one of those Marv's towing trucks because they washed their vehicles there. And that guy had like so much like spilled oil and dirt. I'm like, this is going to take forever, right?
Right.
This was a commercial truck that he was cleaning off on the
Right.
weekend. And the other one was this guy in a Subaru Outback.
Okay.
And he went in and he started, squirting off his car. And I'm like, okay, between, the Outback and the commercial truck, I'm going to take the Outback.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so I get behind him and, he squirts it off and I'm thinking he's done. And then he does something that blew my mind. You know what he did?
He started drying it while it was there.
No. I've seen people do that too. That's not cool.
Yeah, you got to pull it out and then dry it.
No. He took that brush, dude. He took that brush and went at the car with the brush. And I would bet that like the guy before him was like a Wrangler who had just taken it into the dirt, and now all those like silt and rocks,
All that
and
crap is
all
on
that crap is in that brush.
Yeah, you squirt off the brush is what you're supposed to do.
No. He just went right at it. I'm like, you are now sanding or sandblasting your car, your car's clear coat, right?
Yeah.
And he went at that thing. I would never touch that brush, right? There's got to be so much dirt and grit from the previous car that's like stuck in those.
The bristles?
Yeah, that you're just going to, completely sand down the
The
clear
simple
coat.
rule of thumb is you pull that out while you have the high-powered brush or a blower. You blow out all the crap on it really, really good. Then you use it if you absolutely have to. And the only reason to use it in my book is if you have chunks of mud on a bumper.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. So then I back up. I'm like, okay, I forget that. And there was another guy who was done, right?
Yeah.
And then he started detailing his car in the bay.
Oh, no bueno.
Yeah, no, the rule I think is you squirt it off and do whatever you do, but then if you want to detail it, you pull it out.
Yeah.
And then you detail it and you go back in if you want to,
That's-
you use the clear coat or whatever that silliness is, right? The drip dry,
yeah,
the
that's
spot
so-
remover, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Never
well,
does anything.
the spot stuff seems to work on glass, kind of, sort
You,
of.
you
I
think
don't-
that stuff works?
In my mind, I say it works. Whether or not it's true,
Do you think that there's actually like there's all kinds of different chemicals, and when you switch it, it actually switches?
I think it
to-
actually is a slightly higher heat.
So
or
spot
something.
remover in our restaurant, it was we would water soft. It was a water softener.
Yeah.
So you add salt and you water soften the water, and then it drips off without creating those like stains.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like the clear coat, right? There's a clear coat that's supposed to.
Oh, the clear coat I don't buy at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't buy the clear coat at all. I don't
So
think it's...
what's your procedure in that? How do you do it?
Well, I tend to blow through. It depends on the vehicle.
Okay.
So, like a new car, like my new car,
Do you use pre-wash?
I will
You,
pre-wash
you
it.
squirt it with that stuff that like the little
the foamy?
the foamy stuff.
If I think like bug removal, like after I've driven.
Oh, there is bug remover too.
Yeah, and that does have like a heavier chemical in it that does kind of break up some of the goo. And I know that works a little bit, but I only use a little bit of that. Then I go right to the foamer on the high pressure.
Okay.
Almost right away.
Okay.
And I just use the hell out of that.
So Tommy squirts it off with the foamy stuff first, and then he cleans it off with the rinse, and then he uses the soap.
Wait, he rinses and then he goes to
Yeah,
the
I think
soap?
so. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's a lot of.
wow,
yeah.
okay.
And you know what else I found out the hard way? There's two stop buttons, right? There's a stop button on the dial.
Yes.
Right, and then there's a stop button near the credit card reader.
Yeah, where you could just hit it.
Yeah. So the stop button on the dial just it doesn't stop. It just holds the thing from squirting, whereas the stop button on the card reader actually stops it. So I gave a lot of free car washes to people because I would just go stop, and then I thought I was done, but it kept dinging my credit card.
It has a credit limit.
$10.
Like, is it $10? Yeah, that's right.
I know that because I saw them when I got my credit card.
What the hell? I just watched the thing for 5 minutes and they charged me $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because like a really good example of the car wash thing is that I take my wife's car usually through the prepaid, automated car wash thing, because it's not that I don't care that much. It's just that I know that in her case,
You go touchless?
yeah, pretty much. And I like the sprays, and also I like the fact that they spray the bottom. That's to me one of the most important things living in snow country. But in my case, when I like to wash just with my hands, like to get on there and do it, right? And that sucks trying to wash the undercarriage using a high power.
You have two choices, basically. You can go touchless and get a crappy wash, or you can go non-touchless, right, with the scrubbers and, clear coat, damage the clear coat, and you get those little swirly things in your paint. So do you want a clean car that's a little swirly, or do you want a dirty car that's not swirly?
I think it really does depend on the dirt that's on your car, too. It actually does depend on that, because think about it. If you have a 4x4 and you've been mudding and everything else, you really want something that's going to get in there and get that grit out. Or if you've just been through snow.
You're absolutely right. So if I were to we just bought this old Jeep,
Yeah.
which I can't take to the car wash because it's too tall.
It's too bloody tall. You'll have to take it to the manual car wash.
Right, but if I could, I would have no problem taking it in there.
Yeah.
Right? It's been that's fine. But if I had that Corvette that's behind us,
Yeah, that Corvette, I would definitely. So let's move on. I think,
at least satisfying. I can't wait.
yes, the least satisfying. Are we doing okay on time?
Let me check on my timer here. See how we're doing.
I would say that at this point we are pretty close to, we're pretty close to taking a second break.
Let's do one and we'll do another break. All right.
Okay,
What's
so
number
let's
10?
get everybody started. So, remember I was talking about Kia? Yep, they're here too. Number 10 on the least satisfying is the Kia Forte at 51%.
Over
that
half
means
of them would not buy it again.
over half of them would not buy it again. Now, one of my closest friends, who's not a car person, bought a Kia Forte about 3
There's
years
nothing
ago.
wrong with that car. It's just
It's
very
absolutely
serviceable.
a very simple, everyday,
Entry-level
basic
car,
car.
yeah.
There's no frills.
No.
But it gives you a lot of stuff for the money. I think the newest one has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. and-
I just think it's so like everywhere. You know what I mean? I mean, it kind of says I couldn't afford, pick the car that you want.
And that's exactly what he. Yeah. Well, in his case,
and maybe it's not the car's fault, but it's just the fact that it's like one of the cheapest cars.
It is a really inexpensive car. For Kia, it's one of their least expensive. And on top of that, you still get the killer warranty and all that. You know, I mean, that's part of the deal. So something to think about. I don't hate it, but I can see how it went from being kind of an interesting. They even had a coupe. Do you remember the coupe?
I remember the coupe.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And everything. They just kind of backed away from it. But anyway, Kia Forte. There's nothing wrong with it per se, but. Yeah, 51% of the people will not buy it again.
We get one more. Let's do one more.
You want to do one more?
Yeah,
Okay.
Number 9 is tied.
Yeah, they're tied at 51%, and that's the Nissan Altima. 51% of them would buy it again. So
the other thing I think we should point out that this is Consumer Reports.
Yes.
So that's these are people who are not necessarily the enthusiast of the world.
No, not necessarily. Although they do a very thorough questioning of their audience, and thousands of people are asked this question, and it's an aggregate where they bring it all together and they come up with these numbers.
The reason I bring that up is that these are the kind of cars I would think these people would be buying, and yet on the previous list we had a 911 and a Corvette.
Oh, among other things, yeah.
All right. Well, before we continue to tear into the Nissan Altima, let's pay for this podcast, and of course, thank our Patreons out there who also make this possible. All right. What's wrong with the Altima?
Well, okay. There's two things. You're going to see a repeating theme on this list, and that theme mostly is CVT, continuously variable transmission. That is one of the reasons some people are dissatisfied. I'm not saying this based on Consumer Reports. I'm saying this based on what we've been told, and I specifically have been told about the car. Now, there are a couple things that are really cool about the Altima. For one thing, you can get an all-wheel drive version. Not all cars come with all-wheel drive options, and they have a turbo version. Unfortunately, both the all-wheel drive and the turbo version are connected to a continuously variable transmission. So whatever fun you were able to glean off of having a pretty powerful turbo, some of that's taken away with having a less than responsive transmission. But on the other side of it, it is very efficient. They get really good gas mileage.
By the way, Nathan, I misspoke. That's 51% would buy it again.
Would buy it,
would
not
buy it
wouldn't.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going the other way now.
Okay,
All
now we're on the opposite side.
Oh, I lost this thing again.
Okay,
There it goes. It's
yeah,
back.
you're good.
I got it. Every time I touch it, we need better equipment.
We need better. Well, this cord's got to go.
Yeah. All right. So what's number 8?
Another Nissan, and one that I have a lot of experience with. It's the Nissan Kicks, and 49% of people who owned one would buy one again.
Is that the Qashqai in Europe, or
No.
That's
That's the Juke. Or no,
No, it's not the
Qashqai
Juke.
is the Rogue, the little Rogue.
Rogue Sport.
Yes.
I think that's the Qashqai.
Yes,
in
yes, I
Europe.
believe
Okay.
it's something like that.
See, I'm pandering to our European listeners.
God bless you. God bless the King. Okay, so I will say this about the Nissan
Isn't
Kicks.
it Long Live the King?
Is it?
Yeah,
I'm an American. I'm
I think
completely.
it's Long Live the King.
Come on, everybody knows I'm an idiot. So it's God save the Queen. King.
God
Damn.
save the. Yeah,
I have to get used to that.
God save the King.
There it is.
There it
Okay.
is. All right. Unless
so-
you hate the King.
He's a cool guy. I got no problem with Charlie.
Whoa.
I got no problem with Charlie.
How about the way he treated Lady Di?
We don't know what
Princess
really
Diana.
happened.
Oh, come on. There's been
We don't
more
really know.
books written.
No,
She was out there telling her side of the story.
She's a pretty cool person,
He
too,
fell
by
in
the
love
way.
with Camilla, whatever her name is. This is turning into a podcast about the royals now. But
You
he fell in love
started
with Camilla, and then he married, Diana, and then he kept Camilla as his love of his life, while the
so
mother of his
you can
the mother of his children.
Delve into his personal life, or look at what he's done as a whole with. He's actually done quite a bit with. There's
what?
2 different foundations. One of which is for a greener Earth. He's actually managed to cultivate billions of dollars invested into it, and he's very much
landed gentry, the plight of the landed gentry in the UK.
We're not okay. I don't want to start an argument. I don't hate the guy. I honestly, there's only one royal I dislike, and he's been gone for
You know what's
years.
crazy? I was in Britain for the Queen's funeral, right? And when they brought her to London, I had just flown in for the Goodwood revival. And the line was something like, I want to say it was like 3 hours. And we were like, hey, should we go stand? This is once in a lifetime opportunity.
Right.
And we were like, 3 hours, that's so long. And like the next day it was like 24
Yeah,
hours.
people are waiting camped
I
out
know.
for a full day
Whoops,
or 2.
we got that wrong.
But it's a hell of a time to live in, where the Queen, who's lived through your father, my father, their entire lives, and managed to
Our
make
2
it all
lives
the way.
combined, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
For sure.
good on her. Okay, let's continue. So the Nissan Kicks. I wanted to say something really quick about the Nissan Kicks. I don't hate the car. It's not that fun to drive. It looks like a fun
It's a
car.
tall Versa.
It is like a tall first.
It is. It's the same. It's the same chassis.
Well,
same
it's
engine.
the same basic platform, exactly, and the same engine transmission. The interior, pretty usable. What I really liked, I borrowed one of those and I used it during a trip I took with my family to Disneyland. Why? I could have gotten something much bigger, but gas is stupid expensive in California. And I'm not even going to blame the royal family on that. So, although BP, okay, never mind. Anyway, so the point is that this car got amazing mileage. It held all of our luggage. It held myself, my wife, and my 2 kids. No problem. Everybody was comfortable. Good little car. Very, very good in that respect. Very efficient. Just not exactly something that I would consider buying again because, frankly, it's a little boring. They don't even put a sunroof. It's not even in the options, and it's supposed to be like youth oriented.
I think it's like $3,000 more than the Versa, which is already.
It's not even. No, I think it's even less than that. More than the Versa.
Given the choice between a Versa and a Kicks, I definitely get the Kicks.
I would get the
I'll leave
Kicks.
it at that.
Well, it has a high wheelbase, or high ground clearance, which does help in bad weather. And by the way, I was in California during their heavy monsoons. I mean, we were absolutely drenched, and this thing went through like 2 feet of water a few times when in intersections, and it had no problem doing it. It's just a good little
Does
car.
number 7 compete against it? I think it does.
Size-wise, just about,
Yeah.
but otherwise, no.
Price-wise, probably not.
No, and that's the Volkswagen Taos, like Taos, New Mexico.
It's
Or
Taos. Taos, yep. 48% would buy it again, and that car has.
It's only been out for 2 years.
Yeah, that car has a problem where the transmission and the engine don't get along.
Only if you have it on full boil. If you push it hard, just like all dual clutches, if you mash your foot down and you have a lot of fun, great. But otherwise, in daily traffic, and I said it when I reviewed the car, and I actually went out to California. I know I rarely travel, but this is one of the times I did. I went out there, drove the car, and I got to tell you, it's not a horrible car.
Was that you and Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, you and Matt, yeah.
And the car was perfectly fine in that respect. It had good utility, got decent mileage.
Well, the problem
but
is
in traffic, it sucked.
It's a turbo, right? And so somehow the transmission, it does not align with when the turbocharger kicks in. And so there's this weird thing that happens where the turbo kicks in, but it doesn't downshift.
And then also even at a light or at a standstill, it takes a little while for everything to agree to do what it's supposed to do. That car is in dire need of a regular automatic transmission, as are almost every vehicle on this list.
All right, what's number 6?
So, by the way, the Volkswagen was at 48%. A Kia Seltos, which is at 48%. Now, this is an interesting car because it is a dual clutch. We've driven it before. We've had problems before, but something recently happened.
What happened?
Kia decided to get rid of the dual clutch and use an automatic transmission with that turbo engine, and everything has changed according to some insiders. It is a much better driving vehicle. So they basically took the logic that all of us are talking about, which is dual clutches just don't work on these little economy vehicles, and they fixed the problem. We should know soon because we will be driving one of these soon.
I believe number 2 also has a dual clutch.
Yes. Well, once again, the Seltos, that was 48%. We'll go to number 2 in a minute, but we're still way up there.
Number 5, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, the Jeep Compass. That's
46 would buy it again.
Yeah, 40%. That's not great. 46% is not great. I liked the Trailhawk version of it. I thought it was perfectly adequate for medium trails and
it's kind of the rent-a-Jeep.
It's slow. It's got that Tiger Shark engine, I believe, still, or whatever, multi-air.
Is it the least expensive, or is the Renegade cheaper?
I think the Renegade is cheaper.
Is it?
Yeah.
Depending on the trim, but it is certainly the entry level.
Well, it's the same powertrain as the Renegade, just longer. It's a larger vehicle, not by a huge amount, though. I think they're okay, but there's nothing special.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the idea of let's build an entry level utilitarian Jeep, and then use the Jeep brand, the halo that the Wrangler brings, and bring it down market. And I'm never sure that really works great. And especially as we get down to some of the other ones, I have a theory about these other ones. I'll tell you when we get to them. But actually, I could tell you on the next one.
Let's go to the next one, which is number 4 is the Mercedes-Benz GLA with 45%.
So here's my theory, Nathan. I think you're better off to buy let's say you've got a budget of $45,000, right?
Okay.
And you can let's use I don't know, a Toyota as an example, and you could buy a smaller Lexus or a bigger Toyota crossover, right? Mm-hmm. So you could buy an NX or you could buy a RAV4, and for the same amount of money, right?
$45,000 more like a UX, but okay.
You're always better off to buy the non-prestigious brand than you are to buy the entry-level cheap prestigious brand, because inevitably you get less space, you get less performance, you get less quality, because that and actually I like the other one that's on the list, but the GLA doesn't feel like a Mercedes, right? It's got a lot of cost cutting. It's kind of it's got the badge, right? So it's got the 3-pointed star, but gosh, I would much rather get something else that's not the premium version. So I'd keep away from those small premium vehicles.
Now, normally I would agree.
Entry-level
I
premium.
would agree with you with most of those. With the Mercedes, I would agree with you. I have a cousin in Las Vegas who recently became an attorney. Not only that, but he actually left his firm and he's got his own little thing going.
Yeah.
He's a young guy. And I think that something like the Lexus UX or NX would be ideal for him because he's picking up or meeting his clients.
Yeah,
and it's a
I
little
can
bit,
see that.
you know what I mean?
But it's ultimately unsatisfying because you think you're getting what you want is the LX.
Well, no, the NX
Right.
isn't too bad
Right,
either.
but what you're getting is the NX. And that's a whole different kettle of fish, dude.
It depends on the person. I really do think that. But I do agree, under normal circumstances, completely agree with you. And I'm one of the people who would buy the quote-unquote lesser vehicle.
So GLA, right?
Yeah.
If they still sold it here, I would get the Golf over the GLA. More space, better engineering, I think, more styling, right? And it's probably going to be cheaper than the GLA. And yet you're kind of in that same boat, right? You can get a Golf or you can get a GLA, which is the entry-level Mercedes crossover.
And I'd get an Opel. Okay.
What's an entry-level crossover that you would get instead of a GLA that isn't a premium brand?
That isn't a premium
Yeah,
brand.
let me think the one that I would get that would cost about the same. And you're looking probably right around. I bet you that thing's at least 45.
The GLA, I
Yeah.
think it was 40 to 45.
Yeah, what would be like a non-premium brand? You can get a RAV4 for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for 45,
Yeah.
you could actually get to the lower level base model of the Toyota 4Runner as well.
You could, yeah.
You can get a stripped down Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah, they're 30.
Yeah,
or you can
high
get-
30s.
Yeah. Well, Tommy's was 30. Now the base Wrangler's 33.
Yeah.
Ish.
So, I mean, you can play in that realm. But also, if you wanted something that was a little bit closer to what this car could do, half the American brands have something that would compete, most likely. I bet, actually, you know what would be a really interesting one? And we're going to be driving it in the very near future is the new upcoming Dodge Hornet.
How about a Mazda? How about a Mazda CX-5?
Oh, yeah, yes, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Mazda builds, it's funny you mentioned that. My wife is interested in the CX-30. You heard it here first, folks. We'll see what happens.
Anyway, I think you're always better off to go that route. than
Yes.
the other. Okay, but that's
Okay. Let's get to the next one on the
Oh,
list,
yeah,
which is
only 40% would buy us again.
which is not a surprise, and I damn well know why. Infiniti QX50, 40% would buy this again.
Why?
The interior is beautiful. The exterior is beautiful. It actually has a very powerful engine. What do you think on this list? Once again, coming back, same theme.
3 magic letters?
Continuously variable transmission. I know you guys think I harp on this too much or that we harp on it too much, but look at the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, it's not satisfying. It's like put a pillow under, over your accelerator and then go drive.
I mean, you still get sometimes decent launches, but all of a sudden you're just sitting there hovering at 3,500 RPM and it just hums. And in this case, it's not a pleasant sound. The car itself is decent, but it's nothing special. I've reviewed a ton of them.
Look, there's a reason that the Germans don't build cars with CVTs, and it's not that because they can't engineer them. They could, but they chose not to.
For the most part, yes, absolutely.
The next one I like a lot, actually.
Yes. Now, the next one, and I would agree with you.
And it goes against my advice I just gave, but I like it a lot.
And that would be the Mercedes-Benz GLB, and 39% would buy it again. Now, I believe that has to do possibly with its reliability.
It's got a dual clutch, but I just fell in love with that car because it's very boxy. You could get a third row, which was
tiny,
but it was still cool. I took it off road, and while it's a dual clutch, it wasn't grand, but it wasn't horrible. But I just love the utility of the thing, right? I love the fact that it was boxy. It was like a little baby G-Wagon. Maybe that was my.
Well, looks-wise, yeah, but not performance-wise.
No, not performance-wise whatsoever.
Yeah, come on.
But I also drove the electric one, and that one I have to say was a little disappointing because I think officially it gets like 220 miles of range.
Not enough for
And
for a product
yeah,
like that.
it was basically they took the GLB and stuck an electric motor into
Right.
it, or motors,
And
they
a large battery.
Yeah, so I would probably keep away from that one, but the regular gas one, interesting.
Yeah, once again, always check and see how reliable vehicles are.
And
go
number
onto
one.
boards. Now, number one, there's a caveat to this, okay, and I'll get to that in a second.
just came out with
and
a new one.
Exactly. Number one is the Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport.
Which is the one with the less, the kind of the swooshy
Yeah,
tailgate.
They like what Honda did with the Pilot when they introduced the Passport, is that they had a large vehicle, they cut it down a little bit, removed the third row, and boom, you have yourself a fairly large crossover that could hold 5.
Remember the ZDX?
Yeah, I do, and that was really unfortunate on your behalf because for some reason you liked it.
I liked it,
You're
ZDX.
nuts. The Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport has recently been, along with all the other Volkswagen Atlases, been updated significantly. It actually has a new powertrain.
And we have a video at All TFL.
We have a video at alltfl.com, and the whole front end has been redesigned, and the interior, which was always a sticking point for me, has been redesigned.
But there's a big but on. And Andre pointed it out to me when I was in the vehicle with him. You know what that is?
All of them are 2-liter turbos?
No. The but is there are no manual buttons or toggles or switches or anything. It's basically they've gone the route of the Golf R, the ID4, where everything is now haptic, and that is not good. That is no bueno.
Which is ironic because Volkswagen even said in some cases they're bringing back regular touch controls.
They are, but not in this generation. Apparently, they kind of went down the road too far. I think.
I guess
to back up.
they because they have to get the return on their investment and get these components they already paid for, have them in the vehicle, and then hopefully eventually they'll be able to swap them out in the next generation. But and Andre is right. That's not great. I drove one of these, but it was sort of it was the base camp version of it 3 years ago, I believe it was, to Moab, Utah, with a trailer. It did great. It was comfortable. It got decent mileage.
Yeah, I remember we did a little video. It was
Yeah,
fun.
and I took it off road a little bit. It did just fine. It's the thing is that it's terribly boring. It's not that exciting to drive. The interior was kind of drab, so I could see why people aren't thrilled with it. And once again, this is one that I know for a fact has suffered from some reliability issues.
And I can't wait for this year's Jeep Derice Safari. So I was just talking to a Jeep.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it's on again. So we're going, dude.
Yes, and stay tuned because there's some special stuff that's going to be happening at Easter Jeep that they haven't done before that's kind of specific to us, which is really cool. But
Did you know we got invited to go on this is pretty funny, a little side. I got an email from Bilstein, and they're doing like a Bilstein house, kind of like an MTV house.
Oh, okay.
Where they invited me or you and a family member or a accomplice or a partner or whatever you want to bring to go and live in this house and then produce content for them.
no kidding.
Yeah, like an influencer wave where you can stay there, and then they videotape you. But unfortunately, we're not influencers, Nathan. So I said
really.
I said we would stop by and say hi.
Yeah.
But we could not participate because the problem there, of course, is that I think we value our independence and we don't want you or me to be used as a commercial for
Well, unless they pay, would they pay me money?
no, but they would put you up.
Bilstein money. Come
wouldn't.
and see here.
They wouldn't
Damn it.
pay money, but you could have had a stay with
Well,
9 other
Yeah,
influencers.
but everybody says we get paid from these automakers. Why not? For once, actually get paid from one of these. Okay.
Because what do you get? What do we say to Fox when they come to us?
I know. Well, sorry, I was
there's-
hanging out the house at Bilstein.
Exactly.
Sorry, Entschuldigung, this is bad.
Nathan and his wife
Well, they're hanging out at the luxury house for the
were
competition.
drinking
But we would
17-year-old
really like
scotch.
to. Yeah. Sorry, he's smoking cigars on the rooftop. We don't really know where he is right now. Sorry, Fox or King or any of those other guys. Yeah, I know. This journalistic integrity is really important to TFL. Hey, speaking of that, what about us, you and I?
What about us?
Most satisfying cars that we've owned, or at the very least, what do we think about the cars that we've lived with for a little while? Now, in your case,
We just traded the Bronco.
we had the Bronco for a while, and you drove the hell out of that.
Yeah, so tell them what I just drove back from the dealership.
Should I reveal that now?
Yeah, sure.
You sure?
Yeah, go for it.
Positive?
No, don't go for it. You're right. We don't know when the video comes out.
Tommy's going to come through the door and hurt me.
Yeah, we just traded the Bronco, but that would be one of my cars. I'm going to go Bronco or Jeep. I don't want to take a side here because they're both extremely satisfying.
Yeah.
Pick your brand. They're both just vehicles I would have no problem buying again, and we have. And the other one I think would be fair is Mini, because
I was going to ask about the Mini electric, but that's more Tommy, because Tommy spent a lot of time behind the wheel on that.
We own how many Minis? We own the electric one.
I know.
We own the classic one.
My wife has a Countryman.
You own a Countryman. What else do we own? The GP.
Yeah, the GP.
Tommy's selling the GP.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want a GP, he's still selling it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. But just go to TFL Bids.
No, he didn't sell. He
never mind.
Didn't get enough money for it, but we're still selling it. Anyway, so what would be yours?
Well, mine would definitely be what I've been driving for a while, which is the Santa Cruz. I've had it for 3 months now. You know, the Leaf hasn't really given me any problems in almost 3 years.
I know, it's pretty
I
cool.
mean, it's just solid,
Yeah.
but I'm getting rid of that too.
Are you?
Yeah, I have to get my daughter something that has all-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's Colorado.
It's
Yeah,
after our last couple snowstorms.
I know, and we got another one Wednesday. So what are you looking for? What
something used.
like a RAV4?
Yeah, RAV4 CRV, something like that. Something that is reliable, that is safe, and has decent all-wheel drive.
This is like a RAV4 commercial. I know I got RAV4 on
There's
going
to be a parking lot full of RAV4s. Ironically, at one point we had nothing but Dodges parked.
I don't want to be like, okay, so CRV, perfectly great choice as well.
You know what I was thinking, actually? But I can't find one yet. Is a Honda Element with really low mileage. I love those things. They're so weird and funky.
Your daughter would hate that.
No, she wouldn't.
No?
She'd only be able to put 2 people in the back seat, which is good for me.
Weird and funky. I don't know.
Weird and funky.
No, you know what your daughter would love. Come on, you know what you would love.
Yeah, Mercedes.
No,
but I'm not buying her one.
No, what every Colorado college girl wants. What's her dream vehicle?
An Audi.
No,
she really wants an Audi too.
And she's
a Jeep.
Yes,
a Wrangler. No,
of course.
Yeah, no, hell no. If I can't have one, she can't have one. You know what's funny about that? I could actually afford to get like a used one.
You could.
Yeah, because I'm selling these 2 things. I'm also going to get rid of the Grand Cherokee, which I still have, which is a great 4th car, but it's kind of useless right now. Anyway, so getting rid of those, and I'll get her something with all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. But no, not a Wrangler, because she can't have that much fun. What I have driven.
Am I wrong, or would she love it?
She'd love it.
Yeah, I figured.
Being able to take the top off that thing and her friends.
It makes her look cute, and it does. Well, let's face it. You put any girl.
My daughter's adorable anyway.
She is adorable.
But she skis.
Accentuates her cuteness.
Okay, but she also snowboards, and that's
exactly.
Snowboarders.
It's topless, so she can get the
this is
sun
already going
down.
place, yeah.
It's 4-wheel drive.
Yes.
Right. It shows that she's active because it's outdoorsy and active.
She is outdoorsy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not doing it, Roman. I'm not. But
I mean, I could.
I actually listened to you when I bought the.
I could see her
Leaf.
like thinking to herself, I could drive this from the beach in Pismo, which she could.
She could.
Yeah.
But she's not going to, because she's not going to have one. It's not going to happen. I'm buying her something a little bit, and also something that's more fuel efficient.
Yeah,
too.
I could see you getting like a Mazda.
Yeah, CX-5 is one of them on the list too. We'll see. I've had actually really good luck with Mazdas. Anyway, to close this out, I put in the Santa Cruz, but for 2 reasons. I've had one for 3 months, but TFL, we're 1 month away from having a Santa Cruz for 1 full year.
Yep, it's going to go away pretty soon.
That's right. So the one we have at TFL, which has been a pretty damn good long-term vehicle. It's had its minor issues. We'll cover that in a sec. But for the most part, it's been just a very good commuter. It's managed to handle everything we've thrown at it. Yes, the dual clutch transmission has been an issue.
Yeah,
We've taken it in twice, and now it runs much better.
Yeah, it was like there was a problem with the dual clutch. And there was a recall, so we took it in, and it made it almost undrivable. Yeah. And then we took it back, and they did another recall, and it's now fine.
It drives great now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm mystified by that.
I really truly believe that I think that the regular transmission that I had, the regular 8-speed automatic, just slap it in there with that turbo, and you'll take care of all your problems.
Or make it a hybrid.
Well, they need to do that, and they need. But I'm pretty damn sure they're going to do that as well.
I wonder if she'd like a Maverick. Speaking of which,
my daughter?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, she's not going to have a car that I wanted and can get. Hell no. It's not fair.
Where's that other list here? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's up there.
911.
911. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
That's not happening. Okay.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Does she know how to drive stick?
Yeah, not very well.
Oh, she'd like a Mini, I bet, too. A Mini convertible.
Absolutely not. I'm done with Mini. Oh, my God. Well, that's the other thing is that my wife's Mini is My wife's Mini, which is a 2016.
Countryman.
It's a Countryman. It's fun.
Four-wheel drive,
really,
yeah.
really good in the snow. Very fun car. But because the warranty's running out and parts are starting to get more and more expensive, it's a very expensive vehicle to maintain.
Minis depreciate rapidly.
Oh
Because
my
of
God,
that.
like a rock.
Yeah,
So
they do depreciate.
we're going to replace it within a couple of years.
There's-
It's just, I just bought a new car.
It's like this inverse graph, right? I'm making a little X, right? The more fun it is, the quicker it depreciates.
In many ways, although apparently the Corvette and the Mazda, at their very least, people find them.
911 don't depreciate.
No, the 911s
No,
don't depreciate.
depreciate.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, hey, thank you for joining us. We really want your perspective on what vehicle you think should be on this list, either something that you would definitely buy again or definitely wouldn't buy again. So please put that in the comments below.
Yep, and thank you to our Patreons. We've been posting a lot more early videos up there, so if you want to help support this podcast, go over to patreon.com/TFLcar, and, be fun. And we answer your questions on Patreon. We try to answer them when you email them to us, but we get a lot of those. So we put priority to the people who are on Patreon because obviously they're kind of the A-listers in some ways.
Yeah, and they help us exist and breathe.
exactly,
And
yeah.
so what we often do, especially
Parent.
with Andre, is we'll read off some of those questions and answer them. So keep that in mind. If you want your questions read, this is the place to do it.
See you next time. Ciao.
Bye.